Awesome, awesome. So we'll just move forward with the session. So, as the esteemed CEO and co-founder of Mileage Quest, can you just give a little bit of the history of the company and also what Mileage Quest is?
Sure. Well, Mileage Crest is it's a smartphone app that assists individuals that use their personal vehicles when traveling for business to track their mileage. That's it in a nutshell. However, the great thing about the app is that it does generate reports that are IRS compliant, and you'll see those reports later in the session. But yeah, Mileage Quest is taking advantage of the wonderful technology that's available to us now for accurate mileage tracking.
Absolutely. And so we know you come from a CPA background. Can you kind of discuss how that really guided you to create this product?
Sure. So you figure, oh, it had to be about maybe 10 years ago. I've been with the firm since what, 2004. So about I'd say around 2010 or so, we were in the flurry of preparing tax returns during tax season. And as everyone knows, the first quarter of the year is the most harrowing time of the year for anyone that prepares tax returns. So there's a fair amount of documentation that's coming and going. Clients are bringing in receipts in shoe boxes and, all that fun stuff. So Sean and I just sat back one day and we were like, how can we assist our clients in being more efficient in gathering their documents to the point where they don't bring us those shoe boxes, right? The shoebox era has come and gone, thank goodness. And it is due to innovative ideas like Mileage Quest, where it assists the clients in gathering that data. So you figure when clients would have those moments where they would provide us with manual receipts and things of that sort, Sean and I indicated to each other that we needed to take advantage of technology and make use of what's available. And then Mileage Quest was born.
Hmm, absolutely. So, kind of going a little bit more off that history and your understanding of the IRS requirements, can you provide an outline of what they are and discuss their significance and maybe why it can be so tedious for users to do this process manually?
Sure. So for anyone that does anything manually in this day and age, you know how maddening that is. Again, because we're a lot more sophisticated now in what's available to us to streamline the processes, IRS, they're on the ball and they get very cranky if you don't provide proper documentation when you're submitting for deductions. And one at the top of the list is mileage tracking or mileage deductions. And the reason is there's been so much fraud and so much inaccuracies when it comes to submitting that information to your tax preparer at the end of the year. I mean, for those who spend any amount of time in your vehicles for business, you know that when you're driving on the 405 or the 91 freeway, it doesn't matter. You never know when there's going to be a pivot. You're going to be rerouted undoubtedly at some point in time. So trying to track all that information manually is more than a notion. You got your pen and pad, yeah, that's great. However, when you're rerouted multiple times, now you're losing efficiency and you're leaving money on the table, really. Because if your company is reimbursing you for your mileage and you happen to be in those scenarios where you're on the 405 and you're being rerouted multiple times, what are you going to do with that? Okay, so you know that you left Riverside, you were on your way to LA for a meeting, you were rerouted 3 or 4 times. What are you going to do? You're going to go to whether it's Google Maps or MapQuest, one of those platforms to identify how many miles it took for you to get from point A to point B, right? So when you're having those reroutes, Now you're going to have to figure out, okay, so I drove from downtown Riverside. I was rerouted at the at the 15 freeway, at the 91. So now it just totally messes up your day. Who has time for that? We're driving literally. We're going 100 miles an hour as it is. So the last thing you want to do is try to manually track these miles. And again, the IRS gets very cranky if they don't receive accurate backup documentation to support your deduction claim. Okay, so it really makes sense to do things the smart way. Work smarter. What is it? What's that adage? Um,
Works
work.
work smarter, not harder.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, that adage is so true. Even today, we have to work smarter, and we have that ability again because of technology. The mileage reimbursement piece of it, when you submit those reports to your payroll department, HR department, even if you're sending it to your supervisor, if you've got manual documentation, you know they're snarling at you, right? Especially if you had chicken scratch like me for penmanship. But when you submit that information to the powers that be for authorization and approval, if there's any possible chance of that information being erroneous, who's going to know, really? And then, secondly, for those who are a bit, precise in their review, then they too had to go to Google Maps, MapQuest, and figure out what those actual miles were from your document stating that you went from point A to point B. Yeah. So that is
Absolutely.
just maddening. And that's where a lot of fraudulent activity can take place. And, whether it's purposely or not, manual documentation is just not the good way to go, the better way to go. So mileage reimbursements, you're losing money, the company is losing money if they're overpaying you. And then if you're not getting paid enough, now you're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely. Definitely. With the want to not leave money on the table, what are some tips, that we can share that actually will help individuals understand how to maximize their mileage, whether they're using Mileage Quest or, a manual method? There's definitely some things that we can provide insights on. And so can you just kind of give an understanding of what those items would be?
Okay, well, again, I'm pushing everyone to steer clear of manual documentation. It really isn't efficient. Okay, so, if you're trying to do anything in the form of documentation while you're driving, now it's a safety factor, right? And you don't want that. You don't want to get yourself into a position where you could be in an accident. You don't want to hurt anyone else. So, going the automated route through an app like Mileage Quest, and of course, I'm going to speak on Mileage Quest, but utilizing technology that's going to just streamline and make your life so much easier. You have to verify your entries. And the great thing is that, and this is our coup de grace, if you will, with Mileage Quest, our app is calendar driven. It's calendar driven. So that means that when you, as a responsible and productive sales professional or someone in real estate or home health, when you have your calendars documenting or identifying where your appointments are, um, you're talking to the GPS system. So if there's a triangulation activity taking place. Your phone is talking to the GPS system. And again, that could be Google Maps or any other map service platform. And then it's also talking to your calendar. So it knows your phone. Your phone in your hand knows that you have left point A and you're en route to point B, right? So it's a matter of ensuring that you utilize your calendars for the purpose of being A, organized, and B, able to present that information to your supervisors or payroll departments to ensure that you're getting reimbursed properly. And, at the end of the year, you're going to have a report that can be generated and sent to your tax preparer. So there really is no question about whether your entries are verified or not.
Yeah.
When you're doing things manually, yeah, I do want to say this. When you're doing things manually, you forget. I mean, we're going 100 miles an hour. So you could possibly forget various trips. You know, there's multiple pivots that you go through in a day. You start out thinking that you have 5 appointments, two of which canceled. So now you're calling on other customers or clients and you're, rearranging your calendar and whatnot. I mean, who's going to do that? I mean, that's a lot of pain. I mean, it's painful for me to even say it, to be honest. So, but just utilizing technology to the point where it understands what your pain points are, and there's a solution to ratifying or mitigating those pains. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So documentation, documentation, documentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Tamara. And actually, for these next upcoming questions and slides, I would like to introduce Sean Washington, who is the co-founder and CFO of Mileage Quest. He has an extensive CPA and former IRS auditing history. So he's going to be able to provide a bit more clarification on the tax implications of, what Mileage Quest provides for its users. So, Sean, hello. I know you're in the car right now, so no worries there. It's actually quite on brand. But Mileage Quest definitely pulls, a lot of information for that year-end tax preparation. Can you sort of discuss the odometer aspect of it and why it's important to document this piece of information?
How you doing, Bridget? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, yeah, I'll be brief. But yeah, Mileage Quest is tracking me right now as I'm driving talking to you. But anyway, the odometer is really critical because, like Tamara said, documentation is important. So the IRS, actually, when you look inside the car or vehicle publications, the example they give you is they want you to write down the odometer when you start and when you stop. Keep a log like that. And this type of smartphone app, you don't have to do that. As long as you document your odometer reading at the beginning of the year, or actually, I should say end of year, you have a point to point so you know what your total mileage was. Because it's important to know your total mileage so you can determine if you want to use the mileage times the applicable reimbursement rate for that year or actual business expenses. There you go.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you. And even just a little bit more on that, we do generate various reports, which we'll get into actually right after this. Can you kind of discuss some of these insights that can be pulled and how they can impact your financial planning? Definitely the mileage classification piece, potentially that depreciation need, or even as far as deciding which expense method you would like to use. Can you just go a little or expound a little bit on that a little bit?
Sure, when the app was first created, the thought really was for accountants, tax preparers. And of course, as the app development evolved, you said, wait a minute, we need to bring business into this and other value added to the subscriber. And so basically, you have three sets of reports. You've got a mileage reimbursement report that you give to your employer that has a different set of information that's on there. Then you have vehicle information reports that tell you how you're using your vehicle throughout the year, and you can plan either your next purchase or lease on a vehicle. You'll have that information right in your hand, and then of course an end of year report for your tax preparer, and that basically shows every vehicle you use for business and the total mileage, of course, and the business related mileage, medical and charitable. So the app, you have the ability to code up your trips, the business or medical or charitable, and then everything else is either commute or personal. So that's the thought behind the reporting features.
Absolutely. And so we'll actually show the reports really quickly. Next slide, please, Rochelle. We do have the annual tax report. So this gives that year-end summary that you provide to your tax preparer that actually has that question on about your odometer reading. It discusses that business or personal usage, and you can definitely, uncover some financial insights dependent on what that usage is. And similarly with that, with the vehicle information and vehicle usage reports, they give you a very comprehensive overview of that usage, and you can obviously segment it based on what tags you have in the app. So if you have things, as specific as certain clientele and whatnot, you can definitely generate reports so that you have more specific insights to kind of guide your decision making for yourself and also for your company. And that's what that information report actually in the next slide will share. It gives you that, that same access and understanding, but for multiple vehicles. So if you do have, staff that are traveling often and they use their personal vehicles, or if you even have, a fleet sort of business model, then this is definitely the insights that you would want to uncover to report to your tax preparer for many other reasons, insurance, as we've discussed. So definitely a lot to unpack there. And then I do wanted to just finish up with talking about some of the other app features. So we did talk about the automated mileage tracking, which can be done three ways. So we spoke about that calendar-driven piece, which is really great to substantiate your documentation, as well as the automatic mileage tracking that syncs with your GPS and your location services on your phone. And then, if the time comes to do a manual trip, you can also do that too. We have the IRS compliant reports. We did not show the mileage reimbursement, but it is in that slide deck, and you will receive this after, so you can kind of take a look at that, the calendar integration. And then we do have some other customizable features like the vacation mode, or even changing the standard rate that you would like for your reimbursement reports to be generated with. So definitely a lot to provide for our current subscribers. And then I would actually like to close out with looping us back into Tamera and kind of talking about some fun and exciting things that are on the road for next year. So can we go to the next slide, Rochelle? So Tamera, do you want to have us go through, some of the fun and exciting, projects that we're working on currently and what users can expect to see forthcoming in the new year?
Yes, well, 2025 is going to be an incredible year for Mileage Quest. Of course, you know that the Android release took place earlier this quarter, and we're thrilled because now we're on both platforms. So that is awesome to be made available to the businesses and individual professionals. As far as our Salesforce partnership is concerned, I'm really excited to share you information about that. Share information about that. So everyone knows who Salesforce is, right? I mean, they're the mega corporation up in San Francisco. They actually reached out to us. They were courting us to come on board as one of their partners. And, that really says a lot about who and what Mileage Quest is. And so we are now a member of the Salesforce ecosystem. Soon you'll be able to find us on their App Exchange. And the App Exchange is almost like perhaps an Amazon platform where there's a host of companies that are making their wares available to the public. And there is a vetting process that Salesforce goes through. We completed the curriculum regarding the Salesforce Diversity Academy. So now we are recognized as a partner under that particular platform. And I mean, the App Exchange is huge. I mean, it's quite exciting because now we're not only on the platform with fellow partners, but we're also identified and segmented within their AI apps. So that's very exciting. As far as, no worries. As far as the platform integrations are concerned, yes, that's another exciting thing. I mean, I tell you guys, so much is happening at the speed of light. And it's because of the technology. It is because of the professional partnerships that we're establishing with corporations and the business community at large. But the platform integrations, that's going to really, change the game. That's going to turn things around because you figure healthcare organizations, you're looking at HR, human resource organizations, those that are in the PEO space, professional employer organization space, those individuals or those companies are ideal clients of ours. And it's because they have so many employees, but more importantly, their employees are using their personal vehicles to travel about for the company. So what is happening is we are developing, cultivating relationships with PEOs in particular, because their sales force is out and about. That's just what they do. They're in the field quite a bit. And although they may or may not have mileage reimbursement platforms within their companies, the integration piece that I'm getting to is where APIs can be developed. And so that integration between Mileage Quest and whatever platform they're currently using can take place. So when you're driving about using Mileage Quest, you're actually generating information, generating data that's talking to your corporation. So again, I just can't stress enough of the urgency, really, to ensure that you're steering clear of the manual documentation process. The APIs are great. That gives us greater exposure to those larger companies on multiple levels, really, because we're talking directly to their platforms. Their staff are ensured that they are sending proper, accurate information to their HR department, talking straight to their payroll departments, so that that reimbursement is accurate. And we haven't really talked about the benefit that the companies are deriving from the use of an automated system like this. I mean, yes, your employees are receiving reimbursements. They are tax-free. That's tax-free income for them. That's a great thing. But more so, the businesses are taking advantage of the tax deduction as well. So it's really a win-win situation for everyone. Everything is streamlined and nice and clean. Documentation is clean, can't be refuted. So businesses can really stand to see a huge difference as far as their expenses are concerned for mileage reimbursement. And the employees are maximizing what they receive back for their efforts. So those platform integrations, that's going to be incredible. I cannot wait for us to present you with case studies on how that's coming along. But yeah, 2025 is going to be a great year.